The Sol Taishoff Award for Excellence in Broadcast Journalism is the National Press Foundation's top award for broadcast journalism. It recognizes distinguished service to broadcast journalism, whether during a lifetime or for an exceptional year's work. CBS Evening News anchor and managing editor Norah O'Donnell can claim both, having excelled at leading the network's news coverage during a tumultuous year and for delivering smart, tough, and fair news reporting over 2 decades in television news. In 2020, Norah led CBS News political coverage through the 2020 presidential election, including moderating the CBS News Democratic debate in Charleston, anchoring the impeachment proceedings against then-President Donald Trump, and broadcasting for 9 hours straight on January 6th. As a reporter, she has covered Congress, the Pentagon, the White House, and 6 presidential elections. She has won 2 Emmy Awards, and she is known for her insightful interviews. The National Press Foundation is delighted to award the Sol Taishoff Award for Excellence in Broadcast Journalism to Norah O'Donnell.
I'm here for you.
America needs drivers.
And we're here to help.
What are you learning from Girls on the Run?
Never give up and to always keep trying.
If I'm a parent in your state, I'm like, what's Congress doing? Fuel costs, how does that impact your business? The journey, the dream.
It's been so much fun.
I'm here for you.
As a journalist, I feel an incredible responsibility. We are standing just in front of Houston's main evacuation center. Did you sleep here last night?
I sat up here last night.
They didn't have a bed for you? What have you lost?
Everything.
Oh my God.
Go. That one.
Was the gunman recording? Was the gunman transmitting that video anywhere else? Tonight, a catastrophe here in Surfside, Florida. If you're a family, you come up through here, but there's a sign.
People who want to turn themselves in know the direction to go so they don't get lost out here.
And you traveled the whole way with your son?
Sola.
How will you convince voters?
If things don't work out, I renegotiate the debt.
How do you renegotiate the debt?
Did you order the murder of Jamal Khashoggi?
You said that Secretary Azar was intent on downplaying this catastrophic threat. Why would he do that?
No, I don't know why he would do that.
We're here at the White House with the President of the United States. Mr. President, there's a lot to talk about.
A lot to talk about.
Emily Hazen was supposed to graduate as a commissioned officer from the elite United States Air Force Academy.
I was sexually assaulted my freshman year.
Whatever happened to that cadet?
He graduated.
And what happened to you?
I left.
Well, tonight we talk with 4 soldiers who say the military's program to combat sexual assault is broken.
How many of you think there needs to be something massive that happens, like a Me Too movement for the military?
All of us need to be able to feel like we can speak up and that you're never alone.
Scalise received a rousing ovation on his return to Congress. Oh, look who's here.
Just so good to see you. Wow. This is great.
You're the only one with this amount of stripes in this star.
Yes, exactly.
To talk to the most fascinating people in the world.
What do you think your mother, Princess Diana, would think about what you've done for veterans?
I'd hope she'd be incredibly proud.
It's also really exciting.
Oh my God.
I've made it to the top! Superman!
Why do you think the Taliban is afraid of educating girls?
These women can challenge them.
It's like having a front row seat to history. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. We're going to begin tonight with breaking news.
Thank you. Thank you, Donna, for that very warm introduction, and I'm humbled by this distinction. I'd also like to give my immense appreciation to the National Press Foundation for your steadfast commitment and your mission, which is to make good journalists better and to support our work. As the anchor of the CBS Evening News, Walter Cronkite once referred to himself as the most conspicuous member of a superb team of journalists. It was a nod to the fact that any given night, there are hundreds of journalists and staff all around the world, often in harm's way, that contribute to journalism that millions see on our broadcast every night. Correspondents, producers, editors, photographers, technicians. And tonight, I'm reminded of one in particular who we lost just a few weeks ago, our director of logistics for special events, a guy named Mike Hopkins. Hoppy, as we called him, was from Queens, the heart of CBS News. Everybody loved him, and he was able to get us on TV from just about anywhere, no matter the challenges. And while he wasn't the kind of journalist who you might think of someone who doesn't have a byline or someone who wasn't on TV, he had the most incredible journalistic instincts. They were unmatched in many ways. And he embodied the excellence in broadcast journalism that this award, I think, symbolizes tonight. And so tonight, I want to dedicate this award to Mike Hopkins and his family. I also want to give a shout out to table 39, since we're giving shout outs to tables, Lisa. CBS, our Executive Vice President of News, Ingrid Cyprian-Matthews, our Bureau Chief, Mark Lima, Al Ortiz, our Executive Producer of the Evening News, and my Evening News team and 60 Minutes team, thank you all for being here. I stand on your shoulders every day. Thank you. Let me just say I'm also particularly humbled and honored to be in the company of so many incredible journalists here, including Mark Lacey from the New York Times. I just had to give him a shout out. Mark Lacey and I covered the Clinton White House together many moons ago, and now he's just been named the deputy managing editor of the New York Times. The managing editor, thank you. Sam Morty. He was the first person I texted that morning, and I love being your friend, and congratulations to you. This award, quite heady coming in and seeing that other people that had won this award, Bob Schieffer, Tim Russert, Judy Woodruff, Gwen Ifill, 60 Minutes, Lester Holt, Dana Bash, so many superb journalists before me. As many of you know, I started my career as a print reporter at Roll Call, a Capitol Hill newspaper, and then was hired at the age of 25 at NBC News when Tim Russert was the bureau chief. So here I am, a cub reporter in the big leagues in Washington, D.C., and in the morning, Tim Russert would greet me and say, "What do you know?" So I kind of dreaded going to work sometimes in the morning. So I'd read every paper, I'd underline it and highlight it, something I still do to this day. I'd place all my calls, I'd get some kind of tip so that when I ran into Tim, I would have some scoop, some tiplet, something that we could follow up on that day that we could talk about. Tim Russert's question, "What do you know?" He didn't ask me, "What's your opinion?" or "What do you think?" He asked me, "What do you know?" Well, this I know is true. That was one of the most important questions someone ever asked me. It led me on this journey to where I am today. It leads me every morning on our editorial calls. It leads me at night to switch up our broadcast at the last minute and say, like we did last night, wait a minute, are we talking about Planned Parenthood versus Casey? Will it lead to the diminution of gay rights? Justice Alito said it wouldn't in that draft opinion, but what do we know? The lesson is in some ways simple, to remind oneself to ask the right questions and to follow your curiosity. Growing up, my parents were voracious consumers of the news. They revered journalists. My mom, to this day, won't throw away the hard copy of the newspaper until she's read the whole thing. And many times when she comes over, my husband can attest to this, she has a manila folder, and in that manila folder, she has clippings of articles and op-eds from the newspaper. But my parents' message was clear. Knowledge and information is power. For journalists, holding the powerful accountable with tough questions and investigations is exactly what we must do. I've said this before, and I'll name drop Walter Cronkite again because he had this chair for 20 years. Journalism is what we need to make democracy work. We need an informed electorate, now more than ever. So more than 5 years ago, we started with a very simple question that led us to what I think is the most important reporting series of my entire career. Why aren't there more women in positions of power in the military or national security? The reasons are complex, they're multivariate, but we decided to look at how women are treated as they enter military service at the U.S. Air Force Academy. You saw Emily Hazen in that clip, who abandoned her military career after being sexually assaulted as a cadet. We spoke to more than a dozen women who told us they had reported their assaults at the Air Force Academy, and then they were retaliated against. That report then went on to win an Emmy for an outstanding investigative report. At the CBS Evening News, we began a new ambitious investigative endeavor over a year and a half long to turn the spotlight on the military's handling of sexual assault and harassment across all branches of government. For more than a decade, the Pentagon has been vowing to eradicate sexual assault, and yet we found that allegations of military sexual assaults are on the rise. More than 20,000 active duty members in 1 year, according to their own last survey. We spoke with dozens of survivors, whistleblowers, and our work triggered an immediate and real-time response from the Pentagon leadership. President Biden ordered a commission to pursue solutions, and it was one of Secretary Austin's first acts as Secretary of Defense. That's change. That's real change. Our investigative team of producers did all of the important legwork, FOIAs, interviews, double sourcing that led to this. Adam Verdugo, Kristen Steve, Megan Toohey, and their work led the CBS Evening News to win the prestigious DuPont Award this year. I think we're all here because journalism is a calling. And at its best, it has the power to make substantive change in the world that we live in, to give voice to those who feel like they have been silenced. So finally, I will end with this. I'm approaching my third year as the anchor and managing editor of the CBS Evening News. And on my very first broadcast, I ended the broadcast wanting to pay tribute to the legacy of the organization, which I am so proud to be a part of. And so I wanted to pay tribute and remind our viewers and more about the words of Edward R. Murrow, who eloquently captured the power of television when he said, "This instrument can teach, it can illuminate, yes, and it can even inspire. But it can only do so to the extent that humans are determined to use it to those ends. Otherwise, it's nothing but wires and lights in a box." And this is perhaps the great and perhaps decisive battle to be fought against ignorance, intolerance, and indifference. The weapon of television could be useful. So, we aim to meet that standard every night. For all of you, thank you for what you do to meet that standard. To the National Press Foundation, for all that you do to make us better journalists, we are immensely grateful. Thank you, and good night. Thank you.